bollocks, or
and that is the beginning of our video broadcast.
I got rid of my coffee table. It's metal and glass, not conducive. All right,
yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah. So I'm making our broadcast live earlier these days. I hope you understand, people of Earth.
What? Is that a song? Is that a song?
People of Earth, can you hear me?
Is that an actual song?
Maybe. Children of the Sun. Yeah, it is actually.
Oh, okay. I was going to make up additional lyrics, but if it's an actual song.
Billy Thorpe.
Hey, Silverblade. Hey, Dark Redeemer. Hey, everyone in the chat room.
Everyone's saying hey, because they're friendly like that.
Hey, everyone in the chat room.
Why you saying hey? Oh, man. Don't let us ever do a musical.
I think DTNS, the musical, would be a hit.
Would it? Would it? Really?
Well, you're already rhyming. DTNS, the musical, would be a hit. And then
I'm not so sure I'm convinced.
I'm not so sure I am convinced. And then you have the, everyone goes like snapping their fingers and going like, he's coming, he's coming, I was born ready. Dun, 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 dun.
I like that. I like just a big I was born ready sort of
introduction to one of the main characters. The badass, well, that doesn't work actually, but we'll find something.
Okay. I'm done messing around with that for now. Let's do a show.
Were you playing Fallout on your iPad?
No. I wish that were possible, but no, I was not.
Ah, okay.
All right, here we go.
Ceci est le show quotidien au monde de la technologie. Aujourd'hui est Patrick Tuesday. Si vous voudriez soutenir DTNS, allez à patreon.com/acedetect. I was born ready.
I'm going to restart that. Sadly, well, for video, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be there. Brian Dunaway texted me, and I'd forgotten to turn DND off on my, or, do not disturb on my iPad, right in the middle of that. I don't know if you could hear that.
Yes, we could.
So
there was a dip in volume.
Thanks, Dunaway.
Ceci est le show quotidien au monde de la technologie. Aujourd'hui est Patrick Tuesday. Si vous voudriez soutenir DTNS, allez à patreon.com/acedetect. I was born ready.
This is the Daily Tech News. It's for Tuesday, November 10th, 2015. Happy Fallout Day, everyone. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Mr. Patrick Beja, DTNS contributor from Paris, France. Or near enough.
Yeah, close enough. I do get to walk around with my scarf flying in the wind on the near Parisian boulevards, so it does count, yes.
Do you have a baguette when you do that?
Am I French?
That's a silly question. Do I not eat kale and wear workout clothes when I walk the streets of Los Angeles? Of course. Well, we are going to talk a little bit about a study that came out yesterday that WordPress runs 25% of the web, depending on how you count it, and what that means. We'll talk a little bit about how the number got there, but whatever way you slice it, it's a pretty big chunk. So we'll be looking at that, but let's start off with some headlines. You can now pre-order the consumer version of the Samsung Gear VR from Best Buy for $99 US. With a release date of November 20th, the Gear VR comes with a 16GB micro SD card preloaded with 360-degree videos and 3D movie trailers. It's also compatible with Netflix, Hulu, Twitch, and Vimeo. Gear works with the Galaxy S6, the S6 Edge, the S6 Edge Plus, and the Galaxy Note 5. It was developed last year in collaboration with Oculus Rift. So it's the Oculus Rift you can buy.
Is it the Oculus Rift you deserve, though?
Yeah, it may not be the Oculus Rift you want, but it's the Oculus Rift you can get.
Yeah.
It's not actually an Oculus Rift. It's the Gear VR. It's the Samsung Gear VR, but it is developed with the Oculus, so it's got some of their thumbprints on it, some of their technology.
I'd be curious to hear from people who have experienced the, not the Oculus Rift, the Gear VR directly. I'm hearing it's not bad, but it's not great. It does for a great demo, but I'm not hearing a lot of people using it extensively as a VR headset. So
I mean,
on the other hand, it's $100.
You don't have an input method for it,
Yeah.
so there's an issue right there, and people haven't developed that app that it can really be useful on it. But it is fun, I guess, for videos, 360-degree videos and stuff.
Yeah. Google Maps will now work offline, allowing users to search and navigate without a data connection when the area has been previously selected. Google Maps will seamlessly switch to offline mode if a connection fails. Offline maps will not get real-time traffic updates, pedestrian, or transit options. The feature is out now for Android, with an iOS version to come shortly.
This is brilliant until I read about the pedestrian mode, because most of my personal situations where I've wanted to use maps offline involved visiting touristy type things like New York City or Florence, Italy, where I didn't want to have to use data, or I couldn't rely on data because maybe it was going to be in a subway station. And so it's kind of like, oh, well, I guess that's good for driving.
I think so. Yeah, one of the use cases is definitely when you're overseas and you don't want to use your incredibly expensive data roaming charges. But I think by now most people will probably be buying a little Wi-Fi 3G, 4G router.
Yeah, more subway
places,
stations and places like that have Wi-Fi and stuff. So I guess that's true.
But maybe, for areas that are a little bit less covered by data service, maybe people who are driving might have a use for it there. But then you have to have already. I think it depends how you set up the preloaded elements. If you can say, I have this route and I want it to be available offline, and it stays offline, then you can do your coast-to-coast road trip across the U.S. without any issue.
Yeah, you can pick a whole country. It seems like, at least that was the implication. So once you're going, you're going. It's not going to give you real-time traffic, and that makes sense because it can't. It's offline after all. It can't get updates, and this will be good for places with more limited plans, places like India, places like Nigeria, South Africa, maybe Australia. Sometimes they still complain about having limited caps on things. So I can see that. It's a good thing. I'm like, why not have the pedestrian thing in there? Is it that much extra data? I guess it is. When Apple CEO Tim Cook speaks publicly, it's most often treated as news. In an interview with The Telegraph, Cook said, "I think if you're looking at a PC, why would you buy a PC anymore? No, really, why would you buy one?" That's not how Tim Cook talks, but I think it's funny if he did. Got really aggressive with the Telegraph owner. But he's basically talking about the iPad Pro launch. As for the health industry, he said he didn't want to put the Apple Watch through the FDA process, but Apple might put something else adjacent to the Apple Watch through the healthcare process. Maybe an app, he said. But he didn't say that for sure. He said maybe an app. He also reemphasized his commitment to end-to-end encryption, saying, "To protect people who use any products, you have to encrypt." Not an option.
Good on encryption. Interesting to see what would happen on the health department. Why would anyone buy a PC? I'm sure there are a lot of people who have many reasons to buy a PC. But I think the real answer to that question will only come once people have had their hands on the iPad Pro, which I don't think many people have at this point. So he's answering it. Basically, he's saying the iPad Pro is awesome. You can do lots of things and blah blah blah. I'm not sure that's the case, but
it
certainly
seems to be
with the
overstating.
iPad Not Pro,
Yeah, it's overstating the case. Like, there are lots of great reasons to buy a laptop. And some of the reasons not to buy a laptop are maybe answered by the Surface Pro better than the iPad Pro at this point.
which is basically a laptop. So I'm not sure it you know,
And
it's
and
kind
yet
of it's a
you
laptop
buy
and a smartphone.
you buy the keyboard case for the iPad Pro, and you've got kind of a laptop. So I don't buy it.
Yeah, I think we're
Although
not
I will
yet
buy
at
an
that
iPad.
stage. Oh, are you going to buy an iPad Pro in the end?
Probably. I don't really
So
care
you
about
can
the
be our
12
test
inches. This thing is starting to like just get slow and old.
Just get an iPad Air 2. It works pretty well
But it's
for
a
me.
year old.
That's true.
I guess
So
it'll
yeah,
be
anyway,
cheaper. Maybe I should.
we're not there yet, I don't think, and we still have a little bit of ways to go if the tablets ever replace laptops. Apple Music beta for Android has launched in all countries that get Apple Music for iOS, except China. The app is missing music videos, which are coming soon, and you can sign up for a family membership in the app. You have to use a Mac or an iOS device for that. Apple Music requires Android 4.3 or later, and the app has a free 3 months trial period with a $10 a month fee after it ends.
Yeah, and if you already have tried out Apple Music like I have for 3 months for free, you either have to lie when you sign up on Android and say, no, I don't have an account, create one for me, or you can't get the 3 month trial period.
Well, it would be kind of silly to not use your existing Apple ID for an Apple product and create multiple
You could
IDs
get
that you're not going to be.
free 3 months. Doesn't seem that too.
Yeah, I
$30.
wouldn't do it.
I mean, $30, that's like 60 euros.
What's $30 for us wealthy podcasters?
Please send $30 to my Patreon so that I can not have to lie. BBC reports a high-speed printer that makes prototype circuit boards in a matter of minutes just won the Dyson Engineering Award. 4 students from the University of Waterloo in Canada built the Volterra V1, which uses one conducting and one insulating layer to make a 2-layer board. It can also dispense solder so that you can add features right there on the board. Volterra won because of the potential to speed up the hardware design process, and they've already raised $500,000 on Kickstarter for it earlier this year. So they get £30,000 in prize money. The Volterra V1 is available for pre-order for $2,199.
So
which
that
I
would
definitely
be
don't
for
have.
that would be for prototyping and stuff like that, I imagine.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But if you're into chip design, you could do home chip design and print out a prototype, like there.
Wait, it prints boards, not chips.
It prints circuits on the board and solder points.
Right, but the chip, you can't like.
Oh, right. No, you're not printing an integrated circuit. That
Right,
is
right.
correct. Correct.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you've got those, you could make a board. Yeah.
Huh,
No, it's a good
yeah,
point.
and
I
maybe you
think
can-
you're right. I misspoke and said chips. You can't print an actual chip.
Right.
Yet.
But you can buy the chips and, make a board of your own and sort of make the chips do the things they're supposed to do, and that could be interesting.
Yeah.
The BBC reports that 40 years after its introduction, Sony will stop selling Betamax video cassettes sometime in March 2016. Sony is also ending sales of micro MV cassettes used by camcoders in the early 2000s. Sony stopped making Betamax VCRs in 2002. And in the 2000s, we still used Betamax cassettes in the broadcast industry, at least, in France, in Paris.
I'm pour a little out for Betamax. Yeah.
It was just so much higher quality than VHS.
They were still using beta tapes in the early 2000s at places that I was working with. And I wouldn't be shocked if there's some stations out there scrambling at this point to be like, well, I guess we have to retire that one beta unit we were still using.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe not that many, but and I also imagine someone is going to continue to make Betamax tapes. It just won't be Sony at this point. There'll be some third party step in and fill in the gap, and
maybe,
for a while, they just won't be as good. Yeah.
Is it? I mean, I would guess that the entire industry is moving on very quickly now, so I can't imagine it's going to stay for too long. And of course,
There are still
we're going to
people who make VHS tapes.
But VHS was,
There are still people who make 78 records. No, that's not true. I don't think so.
Yes.
Well, maybe there is, actually. It's probably more likely that than 8 tracks, isn't there? No, but I think there are probably some niche uses of beta out there that will require a smaller company to be able to make some beta tapes, probably at a higher price.
I'm thinking VCRs would be the one that you need more because there are probably some archival, some places with archives that have Betamax. But hopefully all of this is being transferred to digital formats.
T-Mobile USA announced new plans and features today, and among the more controversial is likely to be the Binge On service. Subscribers to the Simple Choice Amped plans can stream video from 24 chosen services without having it count against their monthly data limit. That's a practice often referred to as zero rating. Video streams are optimized for quality with proprietary T-Mobile tech, meaning that they'll only be at 480p or above. So not HD is what they're saying.
How is this optimized for quality?
For quality of the streaming, not quality of the video. So right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, you're not going to buffer and chug along and all of that. It's going to be nice and smooth. It just won't be HD. And to be honest, 480p looks pretty good on most phone screens, at least the ones below 5.7 inches. But it's not HD, so maybe there's a reason to continue to not use it. I wonder, my first question was, can I turn it off so that I get HD? Will it detect if I'm on Wi-Fi so I get HD? Services like Netflix, Hulu, HBO, and even Verizon's Go 90 and AT&T's DirecTV are part of the plan. Significantly, YouTube is not.
That depresses me a little bit. I mean, I understand as much as anyone that video on cell service has to be limited in some way or organized in some way. But still, I would echo Dan's, thoughts when you discussed it, was it last week or a couple of weeks ago? And that the way all of this is going, we had a few months where it seemed like reason was winning, and now it seems like the opposite of reason.
I don't think this is winning. The worst example of what you're talking about.
No, it's not. But it's just it's just another example in that trend. Which I'm not saying all doom and gloom. It's just the my optimism in that area has gone from going up to going a little bit down. It's not zero, but it's not going up anymore.
And if people are saying, what are you talking about, Patrick? I'm getting free video. This is great. Sure. And you have choices in the United States. If you don't like this practice, you can switch to another provider. There is a little bit of competition in wireless. But the people who are against this are people who are saying, well, T-Mobile's picking a winner or a loser. It'll be harder for someone to start a video company if those videos count against your data cap on mobile, especially if they're trying to start a mobile video company. When people may say, oh, I don't really want to watch anything on that service because it's not part of the free plan where it'll count against my data cap. And that can be a break. That can be considered a break on innovation.
Yeah. All right. The next Nintendo Direct will take place November 12th at 10 p.m. GMT with news and trailers for Wii U and 3DS games. Nintendo promises you will not, I repeat not, hear anything about the NX or its mobile games. This will be the first live-streamed announcement from Nintendo since the death of President Satoru Iwata, who was succeeded by Tatsumi Kimishima.
I fully expect to hear some kind of honoring of Satoru Iwata in this announcement. I can't imagine they won't make some nods, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. And mostly this is just going to be games, right? We're going to hear about some Zelda, some Mario, and more.
Probably. I mean, Zelda, I don't know, because they pushed Zelda, the Wii U version of Zelda, quite a bit. And there are some rumors that it might be pushed so far that it would be a dual release for the NX and the Wii U. Possibly. We'll see. But, I mean, probably some Star Fox, a few other titles. It's not going to be a major Nintendo Direct, but it's very nice that they're still doing it because it was something that Iwata started, and that is very marked by his image and his, legendary bowing and with his white gloves opening the Wii U package and things like that that looked incredibly corny at first, but that endeared him in the end to the players. And it's nice that they're still doing it. And you're right, I fully expect that there will be a very strong honoring of Iwata during that live thing. His presence will be felt either way.
TechCrunch reports Tencent's WeChat now has credit card numbers attached to 200 million of its account. The apps get 650 million monthly active users, so it's a nice chunk of them. Tencent had a profit of 7.584 billion RMB, that's about 1.2 billion US, revenue of 26.594 billion RMB, or about 4.2 billion US. Big company. Most of that is from WeChat and Weixin, the Chinese version of WeChat. Users can use the app to pay bills, transfer money between people, and buy things both on and offline. So they want to see more credit card numbers attached. Tencent also has QQ Wallet and Weixin Pay, which are ways to pay. So you can pay with everything, it seems like, from Tencent, which means they're gaining on e-commerce company Alibaba and the Alibaba product Alipay, which was a natural attachment to an e-commerce company, Alibaba, sometimes compared to eBay. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but they definitely started in e-commerce. So when you're sitting there in WeChat all day, and that's got a way for you to pay for things, and don't forget I said offline. They've got an Apple Pay NFC-like thing. It is making Tencent into a major player in what is often referred to as fintech.
Yeah, that market is, I wonder if people in those parts of the world look at our big companies in the same way. I mean, some companies are completely global. I imagine Google and Apple have brand recognition in those countries as well. But we think of Alibaba, we know them, but we don't necessarily experience them on a daily basis. Same thing with WeChat or Line or those apps. I'm wondering if when they hear, oh, there's a big company over there called Netflix, or, you know, some kind of Western-based company, do they think, oh, it seems nice, but I really don't care? And it's not that we don't care about Tencent or Alibaba, of course, but it's very foreign to us. And there's enormous.
I'm just resisting the temptation to go all cowboy and be like, Google's American. Where's your European company, Patrick?
We have a company called Daily Motion that I will have you know does really well.
Skype? Oh, wait, they sold that to Microsoft.
It was Swedish, so I feel a little bit less of a kindred spirit with the. Although, you know, my wife speaks Swedish as.
Yeah,
language, so.
Exactly. So it's not far. No, but I know what you mean, right? Especially when you consider that Google operates very minimally in China, and Facebook also not allowed beyond the firewall. So the perception there is of Alibaba and Tencent as the big players in technology.
Yeah.
I mean, people know about Google and Facebook. I'm not trying to pretend that they're that isolated.
Yeah, just like we know about Tencent and Alibaba.
I imagine they know more about Google and Facebook than most U.S. citizens know about Alibaba and Tencent,
Probably,
though.
Yeah. Maybe. Frank Ramblins wanted us to make sure we mentioned a study from research firm Moffett-Nathanson at on the state of pay TV in the U.S. The decline continues with an overall loss of 350,000 subscribers in the last 3 months, twice the number from last year, but still less than Q2's loss of 605,000.
So slower decline, depending on how you look at it, I guess. Year over year, the decline is getting bigger. This may be the sort of thing where people are more likely to cancel cable at the end of spring or summer because the TV series tend to end then still. But it is definitely not huge. It's a trickle percentage-wise, but it's consistent. This is that leak that you haven't been paying attention to because you're like, oh, it's just a drip. And now it's starting to become more of a stream. And it's just really like ruined the tile under that place. And you should have fixed it earlier.
Yeah, I like your metaphor. So pay TV is basically cable, satellite, any service that you get on your TV you have to pay for, which is not broadcast through the net.
Correct. Right. I don't think they count like the PlayStation View. I mean, honestly, PlayStation View and Sling TV numbers are so small. They do. Moffett-Nathanson does talk about Sling TV, and in fact, they admit they underreported their estimated Sling TV subscribers after Dish Network, which owns Sling, sent them a response, and they went back and refigured it. But you're talking about Sling TV having a total subscribership in the hundreds of thousands, so in the hundreds of millions of potential TV viewers in the United States. It doesn't make much of a difference yet, but that'll be interesting when that starts to become a breakdown of, hey, PlayStation Vue, Sling TV, maybe an Apple service, maybe another service are rising while these pay TV traditional services are falling.
Yeah, for me, I've recently made peace with the fact that I had, I've bought an Apple TV and I have YouTube, which I use a lot. 2 years ago, I would never have thought. And, YouTube, Netflix, TED, and a couple of others. And I'm completely fine with that when it's basically bringing me back to watching video content on my TV, which I did very little before. So, I don't know. I thought I'd mention it. It's interesting that I'm going back to TV through the web services.
Yeah, so I'm probably watching more TV now than I did before I canceled DirecTV because I'm exposing myself to more shows because I'm in the apps and they're doing a better job of telling me about things to watch than when I'm looking at a linear video box all the time. And I felt the same way when the DVR came along. Being able to record TV shows meant that it was easier for me to watch them when I wanted. And I think my TV viewing has only increased. So overall, I think it's good news for television. It's just that now we're making that jump that we had to make with music when we went from physical to digital. Similar thing. Hey, folks, submit stories to us like Frank Ramblings did right there. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Big thanks. There's some regular submitters who get voted up all the time, and I don't want you to think I don't appreciate you because I don't mention your names. It's just that when I mention your names every day, other people start to feel like stuff like that. So to the you know who you are. You guys rock. Keep them coming. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. And all the rest of y'all, get out there and vote. And that's a look at the headlines. W3 Tech measures usage and market share of content management systems. Those are the things you use to create websites or manage websites. They've been around almost as long as the web. I used to work on one. Oh, why can I not remember it now? The CMS that we used at Tech TV was insane, and every time it went down, we all just stopped work because we couldn't do anything. But they are what you use to create websites and update websites. WordPress is one, Squarespace is one, and WordPress, according to these numbers from W3 Tech, is used by 58.7% of websites whose CMS is known. Now, there's lots of websites out there where they can't tell what the CMS is, and a lot of times those are enterprise situations. Like at CNET, we had our own called Comet that was built by CNET, and something like W3 Tech's not going to be able to detect that because I don't know what it is. It's an in-house solution. There's a lot of those out there, but if they can detect it, WordPress makes up 58.7%. Even counting the ones they can't detect, WordPress is used by 25% of all the websites that they looked at. Market share has actually been kind of flat. They say it's slipping, depending on how you look at it, among CMSs, but it's rising among all websites. The height for WordPress in Q4 2014 was 61%, but so they're not that far off. Opportunity for WordPress is the 57.4% of websites who don't have an identifiable CMS, because a lot of those may just be using something that they don't like or something that's not very good. W3 Techs think WordPress is going to grow bigger. They say that the gains are coming from places like Joomla, Drupal, and even Google's Blogger. They do point out that Magento, Squarespace, and Shopify have gained market share more from WordPress than they lost to WordPress, but they say the number's so small, it's barely significant. And here's the one that got me, Patrick. Every 74 seconds, a site within the top 10 million, which is, by the way, they're not looking at moribund websites that started a WordPress blog 5 years ago and then never went back. People familiar with the matter. They're looking at actual websites that are consistently used, top 10 million websites. Every 74 seconds, someone starts a site with WordPress. Second place is Shopify. Every 22 minutes, someone starts a website with Shopify.
Well, first of all, 74 seconds, 22 minutes. I think it's not even a contest there. But yeah, it's the path that WordPress has managed to, go on, not to go on, but what they've managed to accomplish is pretty impressive. I mean, when you're looking at numbers from last year or, a couple of years ago, I'm sure it's not that impressive, but I started using WordPress, what was it, 10 years ago, I think, for my first podcasting website. And back then, it was a mess. It worked, it was functional, but you could feel the open sourciness of it. And I'm sure I'm going to get some people unhappy about that adjective that I just created, but sometimes some tools that are designed by engineers are a little bit less usable than once they've been around the block a couple of times and they get a little bit of UI revamp. But the dream of WordPress, it was basically to make a free, open, available tool for people to create websites in a new way. Because remember, early 2000s, the web was a very different place. It was basically the static web was ending and those CMS things were coming around. And there was no solution for that. There were only proprietary solutions to do that, and a lot of big companies had to create their own. WordPress has made all of this possible in a way that I think is a little bit undervalued sometimes, or passes kind of under the radar. I think it's really an incredible achievement that they've managed to do, and it's if it wasn't there, the situation would, there might be someone else, but if they weren't there, the situation would be a lot worse for a lot of people who are trying to create content for a smaller budget, independence, niche content, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and keep in mind, when we're talking about these numbers, the numbers themselves, you can slice and dice them. The way W3 Tech qualifies whether it's a website or not is the domain name. So they don't look at the pages and they don't look at the traffic. They're only looking at WordPress.com and WordPress.org. Yeah, so they're just saying this many 10 million domain names had WordPress operating somewhere, maybe in a subdomain, maybe not. But even so, 25% of all website domain names that are active domain names having WordPress is big, especially when you look at the fact that it's such a big drop. 58.7% of detectable CMS is WordPress. Next is Joomla with 6.6%. Then Drupal with 4.9%. Then it dives down below 3%. You get Magenta and Blogger, etc. And way down there, Squarespace is only 0.8%. Shopify is 0.9%. These are growing domains, but WordPress is just easy. And I think it, like you said, the open source approach may in the early days have felt like it was limited, but they stuck to it in a way that has benefited their product, WordPress.com, for somebody who doesn't want to do anything, just like, please just let me do my blog. They can keep bringing improvements into that from the open source version, WordPress.org, where people can take it and install it on their own servers and tweak it and run it themselves. That encourages people to create themes that then they can share out. There's a whole side business created, a whole economy of people who do WordPress templates, do WordPress themes, do WordPress management and tweaks for other people, because they have created something that doesn't heal itself but improves itself. And that's why a lot of these stories that I read today point out, well, WordPress has been, victim of some pretty big security bugs, especially recently. But I think it is the kind of product where you're more likely to find out about security bugs because so many people use it, and they do have a track record of patching those in an appropriately fast manner, rather than dragging along like some products have and just saying, well, we'll fix it in the next cycle.
Yeah, no, I think this is I think it's an example of the best of every world in web development. It is open source, but it also has the easy to use WordPress.com. I mean, it's still open source, but I mean, you don't have to muck around with the files, and if you just want an easy thing, you just go on WordPress.com, get a blog, and you're done. And at the same time, it's very versatile. You have a lot of templates and skins and themes that you can use to make it your own. You can go in and use the content inside. I mean, adapt and customize the content inside. And I'm using blogs that I created 10 years ago with skins from 10 years ago that I still update to the latest version of WordPress that still work. And it's the ingenuity of that team still keeping it open source. And so, as I was saying, it brings to the world, really, it's not an exaggeration to say to the world, the best that open source and clever design can bring. And it's kind of, I don't know if it's too strong a statement, but it's kind of the most important open source project to me, for public-facing open source project, after Linux, possibly, because it enables for anyone to have a presence on the web relatively easily without going through. I mean, we're talking about Squarespace and Shopify and some other CMSs, but they're either niche or developed internally by a company that owns them. And that, I think, is a separate type of offering.
Well, they're comparable to WordPress.com, where you don't make as many changes, you don't have access to the underlying code. You pay WordPress to host it and serve it, but you're benefiting from the open source product that's out there as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. But that's the thing. They don't have the other alternative, which is just download the thing and install it and do whatever you want with it.
Does this make WordPress a vector of attack, though, at 25%? I mean, we talk about Windows, having so many security problems, especially in its heyday because of its dominance on the desktop. Is it dangerous then to use WordPress because so many other people use WordPress?
Is it dangerous to use WordPress is the type of question you might find on a sensationalist blog that actually might be using WordPress, by the way. So I wouldn't say it's dangerous to use WordPress. It's, of course, a bigger factor of attack, just like Windows is, and the Mac is becoming, now that it's seeing a little bit higher market share. But I think also, first of all, the other advantages you have for using WordPress are pretty obvious and very important. And the other thing is the team at WordPress has been so good at patching these exploits that it's kind of difficult to say that it represents a real danger. There are some incidents that are going to happen here and there, of course, but I don't think you could say it's more dangerous than any other piece of software out there, because we know they always have flaws somewhere.
Yeah, and the question you want with software security is how fast and how reliable are they at patching it? And so if you're thinking about WordPress and you're worried about that, go take a look. Go poke around and do some research. If you're on WordPress.com, they patch it very quickly for you. But if you're running it yourself, you're going to have to be the one that goes in and make those patches. And how fast are they available? How easy are they implement? Ever since WordPress added the automatic update, where you no longer have to actually download the new version and then copy it over onto your installation, I mean, it's dead easy, even if you're hosting it yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of what I was getting at when I was saying initially WordPress was very rough, and it felt like something you kind of had to really know what you were doing to handle. But they've improved the usability of WordPress so much that it has become a quasi-consumer product. It self-updates for anything but major, very important version numbers.
It's not cool anymore.
Well, I personally, as a non-hipster who is behind the
that's
the
why
fashion,
I still use TypePad.
Exactly. But so it has automatic updates. It has plugin installation from within the administrator's UI. It has basically anything you can hope for within the UI, and the UI is very elegant. It works super well now. So I mean, I'm wondering how many people in our audience are using WordPress at this point. I'm guessing. I think all of your sites use WordPress, don't
Nope.
they, Tom?
Definitely not.
Oh,
but some of
really?
them do. Yeah.
Huh,
Not all of them.
So, what other CMSs do you use?
I've used Blogger, I've used Squarespace, I've used Typepad in the past. I don't know if I still have anything on Typepad anymore.
No, but now, currently.
Wikis and I have done a little messing around, not with Joomla. Now I can't remember the name, and I just said it. I was just looking at it, but Drupal, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is very easy to start a WordPress site, and so I've started a few of them.
And you know, I think that's another thing. A lot of people might say, yeah, WordPress is cool, but Joomla can do so much more, and Drupal has so many more capabilities, and that's great for those uses. But WordPress sort of strikes the perfect balance, in my opinion.
Well, it doesn't. Joomla and Drupal are, I want to do more and I want to have more control, and I'm willing to work at it a little more to get that. WordPress is the very basic level, saying, look, you're lazy like Tom Merritt. You want to be able to just throw a website up and have it look halfway decent without a lot of work? Here you go.
Well, so that's what I was going to say. I was going to say it strikes the perfect balance as a consumer product.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's at the intersection of open source and commercial product and consumer. And for that, it has the best version of what we have today. For
the person who's not like, I want to code it myself. I mean, I'm looking at Darker Deemer there in the chat room. Like, I code everything myself. I don't use CMS. And he's right. If you're willing to put in that time, that is the way to do it. But if you're somebody who is like, you know, I don't really know coding, go to WordPress.com. If you're somebody who's like, yeah, I know some HTML and CSS, I don't want to have to do it all the time, you go to WordPress. If you're like, well, you know, I can do a little bit of coding, I don't mind doing a little bit of coding, then you step up to Drupal and on and on and on.
But yeah, I mean, we could have a whole conversation about Drupal and Joomla and WordPress and where they excel and where they fail, but yeah, I guess I'll take that.
Or you could be like Tinvek, who says Drupal sucks, only Drupal devs like Drupal. And then we start the Joomla wars or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the Joomla war. I hear that's episode 9.
Episode 10, the Joomla wars. I believe that will be played by Harrison Ford's daughter. Okay, that is all for WordPress, though. We're not trying to say it's perfect, but it is pretty good, and it's kind of fun to see somebody, honestly, like Matt, get this kind of long-term success. He was working at CNET at the same time I was, still working on WordPress. WordPress launched 2003. He came to work for CNET for a while in those early days. And wow, CNET, you should have bought WordPress. I'm just saying. Glad you didn't, though. Our pick of the day comes from Rich in lovely Cleveland. He says, I think people forget about Google Trends. For a long time, this was a simple way to check the comparative popularity of search terms over the course of Google's history, but I've been blown away by how they've changed the site over the last year or so. No better example of that than their coverage of the presidential debates, which show which of the candidates was searched the most during the course of the debate. The order in which people search the candidates, which issue received the most search traffic, pre- and post-debate search trends, and the most common questions asked about them. It's been a really great tool, and Google is finding new ways to show that to people. Google.com/trends. And we've got a link to a story about Google Trends, particularly regarding debates. Thank you, Rich from lovely Cleveland. Google Trends I used to rely on to do my top fives when I'd be like, what are the hot search terms out there? Google Trends was the way to find that out.
I was looking at the link that Rich provided, and there's one of the cards that is the search terms over the course of the debate. And without getting political at all, wow, that Bernie Sanders...
Oh, this was from the Democratic debate. Yeah.
Specifically the Democratic debate, but it's very interesting because there was a narrative about who was favoring whom in the reporting on the debate, on that debate specifically, and some publications might have favored one candidate rather than another. And in this case, it's very interesting because it's not a universal indicator, of course, but the way that the graphs go kind of tell you a very clear story about what has been happening on Google in a way that you might not get in some other publications. So certainly it can be
that's going to be true of
tool.
any story. The Republican debate that's happening.
Oh yeah, of course.
You're going to see interesting things like that, or the elections in Myanmar. You'll probably be able to find some interesting trends in that region anyway. So go check it out. Good pick, Rich. Yeah. Thank you for that. Send your picks to us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Mark Bussell Jr. has our message of the day. He says, I wonder if people aren't getting too focused on the book part of Amazon bookstores. The more of these that open, and by the way, they've only opened the one in Seattle, and they haven't said they are ever going to open another one. They're like, we hope this one goes well, and then we'll want to open another, but there are no plans. Mark says the more of these they open, the more points Amazon has to ship 0-day delivery and offer pickup points. Having some physical locations that also generate revenue by selling books might make other endeavors that much better. Who knows? Maybe there will be a data center or two in the back room. I don't know about a data center because of the power and cooling requirements, but I could definitely see Amazon say, oh, well, let's have a camping gear store with lockers for you to pick up stuff. Let's have a pet store. They could spin this off from bookstore for sure, and definitely have pickup and lockers like they have at 7-Elevens in their own stores. That makes perfect sense.
I guess it could. The thing is, Amazon sells everything or almost everything, and then they could do stores for everything.
I'm telling you, man, your future shopping centers are just going to be all Amazon stores. Stores are going away. It's just going to be one big Amazon world out there. Don't say I didn't warn you. But no, they could do some other products. I'm guessing.
Of course. Yeah. No, of course. I mean, if someone, if there's a store that is selling stuff and that is making money out of those stuff that they're selling enough to stay in business, there's no reason that Amazon couldn't do it as well.
Yeah.
But will they?
Interesting thought. Yeah. I don't know. It's really expensive to do those sorts of things. And you certainly wouldn't not put pickup locations in them, but I don't know that you would do them just to add pickup locations. Got to make the money on its own without that. Twitter.com/notpatrick if you want to follow Patrick, and FrenchSpin.com to find the shows. You just fresh off recording Affiliates Club, aren't you?
Fresh off the presses that press MP3s. We just recorded a Affiliates Club with Brecky Thomason. We did a Saudi Arabia special a month ago, and I thought we'd do another one about Sweden. So if you think Sweden is some kind of socialist paradise where everything is wonderful, well, it might be, but you might want to go check out the latest Affiliates Club to find out, and you'll find that at FrenchSpin.com. And another thing, if you want to know why I can't shut up about Overwatch on Twitter, I've recorded a video where I explain what that game is and why I love it so much, and you can find that at youtube.com/Patrick Beja. It's somewhere down the list. And disclaimer, Tom's wife works at YouTube.
You don't have to disclaim that, do you?
I know, but it's fun to do that.
Everybody can. That's it for us. DailyTechNewsShow.com/support. If you're willing to make the show happen and you've got an extra $1 a month, we'd love to have it, as Dan Carlin says. I will steal that from him, since I stole the whole concept of this sort of thing from people like him and Adam Curry. DailyTechNewsShow.com/support. Seriously, help us out. We got some new mugs coming in the store, if that's your way you want to help. All of that is there at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and on diamondclub.tv. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Scott Johnson. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
The fact that so many people hate WordPress is just an indication that it's winning.
Who hates WordPress?
You're not reading the chat room, are you?
I wasn't reading the chat room as we were discussing.
Lots of people hate WordPress. Mostly people who work with it and then run into frustrating things with it. And they're like, oh, I can't make it do this. And, oh, I know I should be able to do this. And why won't it work? And I'm one of those people. I run into that sometimes.
Yeah, I can understand that. But, yeah, I'm very happy for it to do what it needs to do. And I don't want the... It's kind of like complaining about, I don't know, Apple being Apple and not letting you do stuff on iOS.
Exactly like that. In so many ways.
Yeah.
Except that I feel that maybe Automatic has a little less hubris than Apple.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. I'm just talking about the way that the piece of software is designed to do a specific set of things.
And it's popular enough for people to hate.
Well, yeah. And if you want to do something else, then obviously you should use something else because that's not what it's designed to do.
Well, and that's one of the problems too, right? Is that what else do you use? You know, I mean, there's other options for sure, but like if you want to install your own blogging/CMS platform, right? Like not a Drupal. What I mean,
Joomla works.
Ish.
But you know, I guess I can feel the pain of people who have to work with it and who are constantly being asked, oh, but we would need to do this by some person who doesn't know what they're talking about, and you know, then they have to go and figure it out,
or even just for themselves. They're like, I hate the way it change, and then they change, right? They change things. And I've run into that where I'm like, wait, I used to be able to just go in and edit this. What the hell? Now I have to, really? It's buried down there. I have to chmod now. Oh my God. You know,
really? I've never had these kinds of issues.
Well, you're just more well-adjusted than the rest of us.
Maybe I just have less needs and requirements.
Oh, I can't update the theme because I made a customization to it. And now I've got these baby themes. I don't want to have to create a baby theme. Why can't I just update the theme and just leave the changed CSS file in place, Patrick? Why?
Well, I think you can.
No, if you update the theme without a baby theme, it overwrites.
Oh, right, of course. But you should have a baby theme, a child theme.
I don't want to have a baby theme. I did it before baby themes existed, and now I have to go make a baby theme, and I'm going to be a baby about it.
Well, just copy the theme, the folder, and then make it a baby theme, and you're fine. Just use the CSS.
That's the point. It's the principle.
Showbot titles.
Yes, Showbot titles.
Okay.
I'll stop being a baby about WordPress. I'm sort of exaggerating my own frustrations for dramatic effect, but that is the kind of thing that people talk about. In fact, Tinvek is like, you're triggering my WPTSD.
Yeah, no, of course, Ian, I understand the pain of WordPress for these kind of things, but you don't think it would happen if you were using something other than WordPress? You don't think there would be vulnerabilities?
Oh, stop asking
discovered?
reasonable questions, Patrick. They just want to be angry. I actually really like Under WordPressure.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
What else we got?
DTNS the musical is good, but we did all of this before we started recording.
Yeah.
So.
Stop the WordPresses, code everything.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the one I love the most is too long.
Yes, the one that's winning, right?
It may not be the Ocular Rift you want, but it's the Oculus.
Yeah. Oculus, but yeah. You can.
I'm just reading the title. I'm not trying to edit as I read.
Oh, Sony out of beta. That's
right,
really good, Beatmaster. I like Sony out of beta.
That is clever. Out of beta to the max.
Well,
what?
I was going to say Betamax is going up, but Betacam and Digibeta are still floating around.
Oh, that's a good point. Digibeta. I forgot about Digibeta.
I've never even used Digibeta.
Have you used DVC Pro? It's just the same. It's very similar. Just,
nope.
I think that's why they came.
Oh, DVC Pro, yeah. PHP Oh my god, I used to use that, and then I stopped.
And that's your review.
No, it was good while it lasted, but then, we just had to start seeing other pieces of software.
Yeah,
It's not
that was
quite-
that was one of those things that like skyrocketed, and everyone had one for a while.
Yeah.
And then it crashed hard somehow for some reason.
Well, I think it's just that forums weren't.
I think
got
that's it.
less
Like
used.
it got popular right at the end of the life cycle of forums.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and
PHP
security issues too. I mean, security issues do everything. And
Okay, so should I now buy Legacy of the Void? I'm wondering if I should. Do we have
my
collector's
question is, should I
edition?
play Legacy of the Void?
You good at StarCraft 2? Like, are you good enough that you enjoy the game?
StarCraft? Well, the single player campaign is
Yeah.
always.
Roger was saying he didn't like the storyline in StarCraft 2.
Well, I didn't like the storyline, and I wasn't really enamored with the gameplay. I mean, it wasn't bad. It just felt. It didn't feel.
There are a few interesting. There are a few interesting modes in Legacy of the Void for other things. There are co-op. There's a co-op mode if you're not into the player versus player aspect. So you can play with someone, and there are different commanders that have different powers. And
In fact, Total Biscuit and Jesse Cox are playing co-op missions right now
oh well, there you go.
as a demonstration.
I think the only thing I ever play head-to-head with on in a multiplayer game is like Battlefield or Street Fighter.
My problem with gaming these days is that I don't like to play against other people.
You don't like to play against other people?
Yeah,
Why?
I just want to play by myself.
I totally understand why, because
Am I misanthropic?
no, I used to play
No,
Left
I
4
get
Dead
it.
all the time, and I loved it because of the online mode. But man, after a while, you got some serious jerks, and although you could kick them out, it just kind of made playing
It doesn't even have to be jerks, although that's totally a problem. Like even friends, sometimes I just feel pressure to be
Wait,
like,
What are you trying to say?
I have to be nice to people. I have to talk to them.
No, that's true. That's true. No, I completely understand. I play alone most of the time, but in the past few months there have been games that make it easy. Like you can play with them if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. And I think you have to be a little bit ruthless. If you don't want to play with people, you just say, "Oh, hey, I'm just playing by myself for now. Maybe
Yeah.
later."
Well, and I do weird things like I'll start things and then quit in the middle. And when you're playing with other people, that's rude. When you're playing by yourself, it doesn't matter.
I like to think it was a shrewd way to get new players that aren't the ones you're playing with right now. I had a crash.
You never have to be polite to NPCs. That's what I'm trying to say.
But I am.
That could be the title of a book that would sell a lot.
That's going to be my version of Felicia Day's memoir.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you suggesting that you're like an absolute jerk to NPC? Like this? See, Tom's so nice.
See, that's the problem, right?
Video.
It's like if you say that, then people will say, "Oh, so you're a jerk," and it's like, no, I just don't want to have to be nice. I don't want to be mean. There's just that sort of middle where you just don't say anything.
I'm gaining tremendous insight into the personality of Tom Merritt. He is such a nice, generous person in real life because he can take all those other feelings.
I knew you were going to go there.
Just aim it at some poor NPC, some third-tier programmer had to create because the game's behind schedule.
I have to
Third tier?
I have to work really hard to act like a human being, Roger. That's what you're trying to say.
I'm not suggesting anything.
And when I get into a game, I can let that all go.
Hey, listen, when I play FPSs, it's all headshots.
I can release my dark passenger.
What does that tell you about me? I just like headshots.
I wish my FPSs could be headshots. I just don't have that good of an aim.
Oh, the key is to camp out and then be a jerk and shake.
You're one of those.
You're a griefer.
I'm one of those that practices war as it is practiced in real life from a distance, from a nice, comfortable, safe distance.
Well, I don't know. Whenever I try to play a sniper, I get shot in the head before I can shoot anyone. So, for some people, war comes naturally, Roger. Apparently, it's the case for you. It's not
War
the case
is
for
just
me.
a brand of conflict. Some
It's
people
my
war.
brand.
Some people war over grades, pay raises, things like that.
You've lost me. I'm sorry.
Retail.
And insert French joke.
There's no French word for the French don't have a word for entrepreneur.
Hey, wait a minute. That's not true. Look at Patrick sitting right here. Do you know you're an entrepreneur, Patrick?
I've heard that. I find it hard to believe or accept. But
I
yes,
found
I've
it
heard
really odd the first time someone called me an entrepreneur. After I went, I'm like, no, I'm a creative who's like just trying not to die. Is that what an entrepreneur is?
Oh my God!
Huh.
Revelation.
Okay, I think I'm out of the post.
Woohoo!
Oh, I pressed save draft. Hold on. I'm not out of the post. Now I'm going out of the post. Ian is correct with what he wrote.
What did he write?
He said Ace Detect has trouble passing the Turing test. I wonder if aliens would pass the Turing test.
And does that mean that aliens are AIs?
How would you
Or
tell?
not?
Maybe they're just it's interesting because it's a very culturally biased test.
Right.
Like you need to fool a human. Like I'm sure there are things the way you can fool a dog into believing that a robotic machine is alive. A lot.
So what you're saying is not so much that it's a culturally biased test, but rather a species biased test.
Well, it's culture. I mean, that's what we define as our interactions with each other and what we can.
Oh, I see what you mean.
The human culture. I mean, we could come across a species of living stone, like coral, on a different planet.
Ah! Run away! The coral aliens are invading!
Slowly accumulating on my foot.
But isn't that one of the? I'm trying to remember. Was it a book or a movie? Well, the whole thing for the alien invasion was it took place over generations, and so no one knew what was happening until it was too late.
All right. Well, we're not going to tell you the answer, folks. You'll just have to find out for yourself. We'll see you tomorrow.